May as well just hit record.
Yeah,
Uh,
might as well just roll with it.
yeah. Johnny, introduce yourself, what it is you do, and who you play with.
Sick. I'm Johni Holiday, and I play guitar and sing the vocals for Ruff Majik. That's yeah, more or less. So did you mean what I do, like, um, as a human being, or was it, what do I do in the?
That was solid. That was exactly what was required. You guys are releasing an album tomorrow. I'm stoked for it. I've actually listened to Cement Brain. Is that the single that came out, or?
Yeah, it's one of the singles. But yeah, tomorrow is going to be a whole landslide of things coming at you at one time. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be fun. It's definitely one of the weirder things I've made, or we've made. So I don't know. We're going to see what people think about it.
I'm so sure I've seen you in other bands as well. Did you play in Pollinator? No, that was Everett. That's but I'm sure I've seen you in something else as well. Like I know for a fact. What else have you played in?
I've never been in another band actually, but I have a couple of times. Like I like filling in. Sometimes somebody doesn't have a bassist, and I'm like, yeah, fuck, I'm not doing anything. Might as well just pull in and do some, a show or whatever. Which is why you might think of the pollinator thing, because there was a live video where I was with Ifrit and Tim, which is the standard pollinator lineup. Just Louise wasn't there, and I was filling in on the bass at Railways, and I was just there playing. But yeah, that's just struggling to stay at home, which is ADHD or something.
You guys are a Jersey-based band, right?
Yeah. I mean, technically, we've been around though. I mean, because the essence of the band initially came from a small town in Mpumalanga called Leidenburg. Real shit place. Don't ever go there. But if you do, that's fine. Just I'm not recommending it. And so we went from there and we got to Pretoria. We lived in Pretoria for a long while, and that was the first full iteration of the band, I think. And then we moved around. We've been in Josie as well, and now currently, actually, I'm in the East Rand. Uh, Most of the bands in the East Rand. It's the first time in a while that we've all kind of convened in the same spot again. So yeah, we're in. I don't even know what the area is called, man. It's like, I think it's technically Bonero Park or something like that. But the thing is, I don't understand the borders for shit here. So it's like we're supposed to be in that thing, but then if I drive a block away, then suddenly I'm in another place, and um, yeah, I'm just confused most of the time, honestly. So I'm just kind of rolling with it.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Sometimes the naming conventions of places are like a bit strange, and like you'll have a whole group of people who think something falls under an area, and like a whole bunch of people who disagree with what falls under what area.
Yeah, dude, I've been saying, listen, I live in Kempton Park for the longest time. I was just like, yeah, fuck, we're in Kempton Park, obviously, because that's where the airport is, surely, and I'm right by the airport. And then the other day we were out somewhere, I don't remember where, but like fucking close to my house. I was explaining to someone that I live in Kempton Park, and they were like, "No, bro, you live in Benoni." And I was like, "Really?" Because I could have fucking sworn I had this down just a second ago. So now I don't know anymore. I'm just around. There's a house I live in. It's vaguely in the East Rand.
But you know what? I also feel like it's sometimes it's easier to just say that you're like a general location that like Kempton Park is like a household thing. If you start saying specifics, if I tell you I live in Pinetown, you might not necessarily know where the fuck that is. If I say Durban, it makes a lot more sense. It gives you a much better
Yeah, but you
idea
know
of
what the
where I.
weird thing is? I
Yeah.
know where Pinetown is. I do know that. So yeah, I don't know. No, but for real, it is a bit weird. It's just I think I got used to, because I come from a small town, so there's not, Leidenburg is Leidenburg. That's it. Leidenburg. That's the whole fucking town. That's what it is. There's not really different sides to it. And then as I was growing up and I became a teenager, they were like, yeah, there's one expansion now, and it's called the Heads. And I was like, okay, sick. So it's Leidenburg and the Heads. That's two things to remember. And then we moved to Pretoria, and Pretoria was also kind of like, I mean, Pretoria is big, but it's built in like very square blocks. So, here's this bit, here's this bit, here's this bit, and there's two main roads that go through the whole thing. So I kind of know where I'm going most of the time. And then we got into Joburg, and I was like, what the fuck? That these people just started building with no plan whatsoever. They just went with it, which is the history of Joburg, as far as I understand it. But it's confusing, man. And then, yeah, since then, I've just been confused, just traveling around between places, not knowing where the hell I'm going.
You know what? I think I also just hit a certain point and I just never stopped being confused either. Um,
It just goes that way.
and then are you guys doing something for the album launch? Are you doing like a show? Is there anything happening like event wise that you guys are doing?
Yeah, well, we're just doing that 70s Fest. Nothing's else around that. So we'll do I think we're doing like a 10 o'clock slot at 70s Fest, which should be quite sick. But I mean, it's semi problematic because things just tend to take long when they hit essays. So we were hoping by this weekend we're going to have, vinyl and merch and stuff to sell at 70s Fest, for instance, to have it like a proper launch. But then the vinyl arrived from overseas on Monday, and we were like, okay, great, that works out perfectly. And then it was stuck in customs until like late yesterday, and then they were only able to mail it through to get to Joburg side. So now potentially we're not going to have it. So I'm like, it's not really a release show if we're not actually giving people the physical product. We're just playing a show on the day of release. That's the vibe. Well, not the
Man.
day of release, the day after the day of release. Yeah.
But that's frustrating though, with like you said, everything being so sort of chaotic and slow at the side.
Yeah, dude. And there's no particular reason for it. I'm just like, you know, what could possibly have kept it in customs? That they think it was a pile of drugs? Surely not. It's just a square box. Even if they did think it was drugs, I'd just be like, yeah, okay, so open it, take one out and be like, oh, okay, never mind, and then send it. How does it take 3 fucking days? I don't understand that.
Like someone lost it and just no, it's customs and then found it. Like it's probably just like whenever you work in an
Yeah,
industry, you realize like how chaotic things are behind the scene. Like it's just
no, 100%, man. We had that once with, that was actually horrific. We flew back from, I don't remember where we were. I think we were in Portugal or somewhere. And we got back here. We were waiting by the bay to collect our guitars. And then the guy comes up to us and he's like, no, sorry, they never made it over here. And I'm like, what? That's
what the
fucking like, what could have
fuck?
happened? They're like, yeah. And the guy's like, no, sorry, they got lost. You guys have to go at the baggage claim. But then our bassist is just at that time, at the exact right moment, looking through the door at the airport. But yeah, just at the right moment, he looks through the revolving door, or whatever, and he sees our guitars. And he's like, hey, our guitars are right over there. And the guy's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And our bassist is a bit of a hothead, so he's just like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go get them. And he just walked right through the security, through everyone. And they're like, they're gonna phone the police and everyone, they're gonna arrest us and whatnot. And he's like, fuck you, that's my bass. I'm gonna go get my bass. And then it was a whole thing that they were like, yeah, but it could have been guns. And we were like, did
What
you
the
open
fuck?
them? Did you check if they were guns? I mean, because they weren't.
What was that? What was that fucking that movie, dude, where there was a guy who had a guitar case and it was just like it was like a fucking gun in it. It was some like Hitman. I don't know if you
Oh, dude, Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that what he
yeah.
thought? Like, had he just watched that movie during his lunch break and that's what he thought was going on? You were like a fucking hit squad or something.
You know what was hilarious? That exact same trip, when we got to Portugal, I walked in, we just got off and we collected our stuff from the baggage claim, and now we have to go through customs in Portugal. And we walk in each carrying these big cases, and there's a guy kind of just sitting there reading a newspaper, like the customs official in Portugal. And he looks up at me, semi-concerned, and he tries to stop us, and he starts speaking in Portuguese. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my man, I don't speak Portuguese. What's happening? And he just points and he's like, are those guns?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. And he just went, okay. And he kept reading his paper. And I was like, but what if they were, though? I mean, they could have been.
That's like the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like
they just couldn't be fucked, man. It was amazing. But yeah, that kind of set the tone for the rest of Portugal because those people take it easy.
But in terms of like the guitars situation, I would have lost like I would have been on your basis side there. I would have lost my fucking mind.
We were super angry and we were, complaining and doing all the stuff. But the thing is, if we hadn't seen them, we would have just believed, oh, okay, they didn't make it over, and we would have just left them there and had to get new guitars. So that's the problem. I don't know. It wasn't a fun experience. It's unfortunate that we have that kind of vibe going.
Thank fuck it had a happy ending though, because God, like if I have to lose like an instrument, especially the one that I use like as my day to day for the band, I would be like devastated.
No, for sure, man. That was a, yeah, it wasn't a good day. And it's also, you just got back from like a 10-hour flight from overseas. So you haven't slept. You're feeling bad. You're smelling bad. Everything's just, it's not great. And then someone's like, yeah, we lost your guitars. And you're like, oh, that sucks. And then they're like, okay, so they haven't lost our guitars, but they were actively trying to obscure them from us. And I was like, okay, so, I'm not a terrorist, but wait, I shouldn't say this over an interview, but yeah, I'm not going to.
I'm not a terrorist, but if you push me, I'm prone to an act of terrorism.
That wasn't me.
Oh no! Suddenly there's just like FBI on the location. Like, where are you?
Yeah, there's someone that just tapped in now. I could see there's a new person has joined the chat.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And like you're saying, you guys played in Portugal, like, and you said it was the most chilled experience. Where else have you played?
Bunch of places, man. I mean, 2018 and 2019, we were all over Europe. So we did Germany, Poland, France, Netherlands, Portugal, obviously, Austria. There are others that are slipping my mind right now. Belgium, yeah, in Belgium as well. So a couple of places, really, but they've all been quite sick. And we're going over again this year in August and October to do the same. So we're quite excited to just go grind it out again over there. It's a really, yeah, Europe is absolutely fantastic to tour. It's a great time.
And what was like the crowd response like? How was it like, did being a band coming from a completely different country, having no following, that's well, I'm not sure if you guys don't have a following that side, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. Going into completely new waters, new country, what were the people like? How did they like? Was the reception to your music?
So we do have a following now, and it began in the weirdest way because we got really lucky. In one sense, and in another sense, it wasn't luck at all. It was just hustling hardcore and just being an absolute liar. Because our first tour that happened, I booked by emailing a bunch of festivals that were happening around the same time throughout Europe. And I messaged them all and I was like, listen, we're on tour in Europe. You should book us for your festival because we're driving past your town on that day that the festival is happening. And at the same time, I was messaging a bunch of booking agencies over there that put on shows for bigger bands in our kind of genre spectrum. And I told all of them, we've been booked for all of these festivals. We just don't have a tour route that's connecting them. So we might as well do that. Both of those things were total lies. I had none of that. And just to my absolute surprise, both sides came back to me and they were like, yeah, okay, sick. You're booked for this festival. You can hop on the tour with these guys. And now you're booked for this festival and you can hop on the tour with these guys. And that was fantastic going into it because we didn't have a fan base to begin with. We were just leeching off everyone else's built-in fan base at these festivals and events and shows with bigger bands than us. And then the second time we went back, we had a fan base because people were like, oh, it's those crazy, crazy liars. Let's book them for more shows.
That's batshit. Like I wouldn't have even had the balls or the initiative to think of that. Like, like
Yeah, a lot of people kept saying,
you said this so casually, but this is fucking mind-blowing stuff. Like, what?
Yeah, a lot of festival organizers were like, yes, you were taking some liberties there. And I was like, well, am I here or am I not here? We made it. So
Did we not deliver? Like,
yeah. And then that's the thing, though. So we get on stage and we play a fucking crazy show. And then afterwards, the guys are like, yeah, okay. We don't care that you lied so much. You did a good show. Come back again. So that kind of got, and that got us our European booking agency, Sound of Liberation, because they were one of the couple of guys I messaged and whatever, and they put on a couple of shows for us. And then after they were like, that was insane what you guys did. But respect, hop on. And we were like, fuck yeah, here we are now. Now it's being actually booked by an actual booking agent.
that's crazy. Like I'm still like trying to process like the logistics of it. So you got what was like if that didn't work out, Would you guys have just gone over to Europe and been like, sweet, who's gonna let us play?
Um, no, because what happened was I hadn't bought plane tickets. We didn't have visas. We had fuck all. We were just like, yeah, we're coming to
Oh,
play. Leave this, and then suddenly we had bookings and like 3 weeks to make it happen. So then it was like running and getting all the paperwork ready in like 24 hours time and being like, oh, it looks like we're going to Europe and buying plane tickets, making a bank loan, just for the initial travel costs. And we were like, this is probably going to be a fuck up, but it's going to be fantastic, but then it wasn't a fuck up. It was super successful. And we were like, okay, sick. That's it. That's how you do it then.
that's incredible. Like, I'm actually mind blown by that. Like, if we by some fucking chance happen to win the Battle for Viking, that would be my first time playing outside of South Africa, if it happens that way. And like, I am fucking nervous about that. But what you've just explained to me is like a whole other fucking ball game. That is just
I guess to think about it like this, though, if you guys do Battle for Vulcan, and best of luck to you there, that would be sick. Um, Now you've got some tour booking tips. I mean, just add some more. Just keep going.
yeah.
Nobody can stop you from doing it.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking notes. I'm not gonna lie. I've got got a notepad and I'm gonna go back over the recording and be like, yes, good plan.
Yeah, dude. Well, like I said, it's worked once. I'm sure it could work again. I don't think it was just dumb luck. It was, but also I must say it was an absolute slog of admin because I had probably messaged about 1,000 people, you know, email wise. Just luckily, a lot of them got back to me, which was fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. It's very doable. It got us onto some cool shit too. Just playing with really big bands on the trip. I mean, we did one in France. We did a festival with Corrosion of Conformity, which was crazy. Yeah, that for me was absolutely mind blowing, and that was in the same batch of festivals that I just lied to. I'm standing backstage with Pepper Keenan, and we're just having a boatload of whiskey and getting super drunk. And he's like, "Oh, you guys are fun." And I'm like, "What the fuck is happening to my life? This is crazy."
Did your other bandmates know what you were doing? Or did they find out like at the last minute? So, by the way, guys, we have a European tour and we're playing festivals. Like, how did did they know what your plan was, or did you kind of just break the news to them as a surprise?
I just kind of sprang it on them as the thing, but I think they thought I was really on it because I was like, yeah, we'd be casually talking at band practice, whatever, and I was like, oh no, I'm planning a European tour, or we'll go at some point, and they're like, yeah, sure, that sounds cool, man. They were just like, yeah, maybe one day. That sounds like a good plan for one. And
They
then
didn't
one
know
day,
what they were agreeing to.
yeah, one day is like a month later, and I'm like, sorry, pack your fucking bag, you have to go now. Yeah,
It's great. And like, we skipped over a couple of yeah. What would you say is the genre like of Rough Magic? I know on on Facebook you got it like fuzzier than your uncle, which is a great line, by the way.
I think that's probably that's the closest you'll get to a genre description. I mean, like if you get to listen to this new album now when it's dropped tomorrow, you'll realize it just doesn't fucking matter. We just want to play fun music, whatever's good to listen to. So sometimes it's like we go really heavy sometimes, like gnarly heavy, which I really dig. But then sometimes, like with some End Brain, it's just like it's basically a R&B song with some fuzzy guitars in the background, and a quick harmony, and boom, there it's done. Um, and that also happens sometimes. And I think at some point we just decided to stop trying to force things. Not that we forced things before, but at some point we were like, yeah, you know what? We can't have this. This is catchy. We don't play catchy music. We play rock and roll. And then at some point I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why not just play catchy music? That sounds fantastic. But not just catchy music. Like tonight I want to play something that's vaguely disco, and tomorrow I want to play black metal, and I should be allowed to do both.
You know what, like that like sort of era of music though, where like they kind of just did whatever the fuck they wanted anyway, which is why so many things are like spin-offs from that time, is because people just they took a bunch of drugs and they were like, let's fucking do whatever.
A lot of that kind of experimentation and weird things happening. And we've circled back to it now. I mean, if you get into some popular music that's running right now, especially things like hyperpop, that's just literally everything and the kitchen sink thrown into a fucking blender. And pushed out, and they're like, yeah, and it's mastered to perfection, and there you go. But it's just a mishmash of all the craziest shit you've ever heard, and you're like, oh, okay, this is fantastic. Um, and I like that. I want to be able to do that kind of thing. Like we're already like this new album is dropping tomorrow, but we've already recorded new tunes as well, like to follow it up. And so far, we've got a 7.5 minute prog metal epic that sounds like it sounds almost exactly like Mastodon. I don't know how that happened, but that went down. And then we've got just a straight up Weezer song as well. And I'm like, yeah, these guys are probably going on the same album because who cares, man?
Just directly following each other. That would be sick.
Yeah, that's probably, well, like I said, this album tomorrow. That's exactly what's happened already, but it's just, we're going to make it.
There's obviously you guys you said you're playing tomorrow for that 70s fest, right? It starts tomorrow. Or no, the album launches tomorrow. You're playing on Saturday for that 70s fest.
That's correct, yes.
And then like you got any other sort of impromptu tours in the works for this year, or it's not so much happening?
We've got some things happening outside of Europe, but not a lot in the lead up to Europe because we're doing a lot of work for rehearsal and making sure we're as tight as possible and look as good as possible when we hit European shores again, because it's been a while since COVID, basically. So we'll probably do like 1 or 2 Gauteng shows and then a couple Cape Town ones, probably over 1 weekend or something, or 2 weekends before we head over to Europe. Then we'll do Europe. September, we've got absolutely nothing. And then we're doing mid-October to mid-November, Europe again. And then currently we're planning a big tour for December for SA. Just like coastal wise we're going to try and hit as many towns as possible. Like we did last year when we did the Great Trek thing, we're doing the same kind of vibe again. So then we'll pull through.
You guys hitting Durban at all?
Yeah, we definitely will.
Oh, fuck yes. It's definitely.
Yeah, but like I said, it's probably only going to be at the butt end of this year, but we'll get there.
Years go by quickly at this point, eh? I don't know. I don't know about you, but it feels like that shit's going by faster and faster at this point.
No, it does. It really does. But yeah, I mean, we'll we'll see as it happens. But yeah, so probably I'm thinking December around there we'll be hitting Durban. That's the plan.
And do you do music full time? Is that what you're doing, like full time at this point, or?
Yeah, but it's not ideal, honestly. I need to make some other plans. But no, you know what? Before COVID hit, like 2018 was rickety. Nobody knew what the fuck was happening the first time we're touring Europe, and we were just kind of all in. We were like, yeah, okay, let's make it happen. But then at the halfway through 2018 and into 2019, we were touring to Europe twice a year for quite long, and they pay in euros. And it turns out if you play in Europe, you don't pay for anything because you've got free accommodation at every venue you play. They give you catering. They give you a fridge full of booze. So you're just not spending money outside of petrol and plane tickets, basically. So we started coming back with more and more money, and that allowed us to live off that, basically, which was kind of sick. I had some money put away, and I was able to live off that for a little while. And then suddenly not, because it wasn't just a 2-week lockdown. It was, 2 fucking years, basically. So then things got a bit gnarly, but we survived. So basically right now, the plan is to get back on the regularly scheduled overseas touring again, and then just living off those euros in SA, man, because it's real cheap here.
No, I'm sorry, like interested to hear that. Like obviously they have a much more established music scene that side, and things have obviously been going a lot longer. And just that concept of like hearing that they accommodate you, that they basically cater you and everything, that sounds like a faraway dream for South Africa. You're currently like in Durban, you're lucky if you could find a venue to play at this point. There's very few that are actually functioning.
No, dude, it's super sick. I dig it. It's that vibe. Like I said, so just to give you the South African perspective of how it went down the first time, because I know you're already imagining it in your head, and I'm going to just confirm that bias for you. We got to the first venue we ever played in Europe. We got there, and there was food backstage and there was beer backstage, but like in a whole fridge and whatnot. and we were not touching anything because we're like, this is obviously for the big band, and we'll go hungry tonight, and then tomorrow we'll try and make a plan on the road. And then one of the organizer dudes walks in and he's like, "That's your fridge, by the way, the one full of beer. It's like if you don't drink that, it just goes back in stock, but it's yours to drink." And on that first night, we drank a lot, obviously, but we also loaded our suitcases to the fucking brim because we were like, my God, free fucking beer. Can't believe it. We broke the wheels off our suitcases. It was crazy. We got to the next venue and we realized, oh, this is just how it is everywhere. I think those people must have thought, oh, shame. Look at those poor South African people. You're just loading those suitcases, And meanwhile, I'm just fucking towing Samis as they come by on the plane. I'm just like, yeah, get it in me. And then, you realize, oh, actually, you know what? This is going to be the same every night. You could just chill out.
It's funny. Like I have a full-time job, and people often like at that job ask me, "Why don't you do music full-time?" And often my response is, "I enjoy not being homeless, and I enjoy not starving."
Mm-hmm. No, dude, because it's a tough vibe. So in the band, we've got Bez or Cowboy Bez, who's playing guitar now. He does music teaching also on the side, and he does a lot of acoustic shows as well, with like either with himself or with a friend of ours as well. She's a really good musician. Her name is Reet. You should look her up. So they do a lot of gigs, and that's how he keeps it going. So he is a full-time musician, and he lives relatively well, I would say, but it's a graft. It's way more than a 9 to 5. It's just like all the fucking time, always on. Our drummer is the same way. He just does a lot of session work as well, and that gets him sorted, and that's sick. I think it also comes down to. So here's the thing about making the Euros and living in SA is it's a certain type of living. Like you have to be able to live within your means. If you're doing that, then you can probably live off that money for a year, But if I'm not a very fancy man. I don't like flashy things. I just like, having a roof and food to eat, and the occasional beer to drink. Then I'm quite happy. So then that works out. Make enough money from there, live off that. That's kind of the vibe. But if you want to do well, you have to grind, man. Like you have to grind hard. And it's usually multiple streams of income that you have to generate from music. So you'll be doing music, but you'll be doing it in a bunch of different ways. It's the only way, I think, to really live off it, unless you make it big somehow. And then I don't know. I don't even think those guys just live off music.
Yeah, there's like a lot of them are streamers. There are, they do a whole bunch of other things, create even your biggest guys, they stream. Like look at Matt Heafy, or even like Herman Lee from Dragon Force. They stream on Twitch,
Yeah.
like almost
Yeah, you see?
constantly, and they make a living.
Yeah. And that's the thing. But what I've always argued is, and I've been waiting for just the right level of I don't know what it is, just to get people to listen to me, because I just want to convince all of these fucking bands, all the cool rock bands and metal bands and whoever's out there making cool music, and just be like, you can do that, or if you're the size of Trivium, you can live very comfortably in South Africa with that kind of money. So just everyone move to South Africa. That's my plan. I'm just like, just come here. If you all live here, you'll live comfortably. You'll still be able to tour, make your money there. And then you don't have to do all the other things. You can just be a musician. Wouldn't that be marvelous? And then South Africa would be absolutely covered in the most insane bands of all time.
Oh, that would be absolutely sick. Johni, we're running out of time here. It's been an absolute blast having a chat with you. And then you've also got another interview after this, maybe just so you can have a little break between them at the very least. Thank you so much for taking the time to have a chat with me. I can't express how much I appreciate it. I've had an absolute blast. And yeah, where can people find you? Where can people find your music?
So, well, yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's been really fun chatting. I always enjoy a good chat. It's fun. And I like it when it's in this kind of format where it's not so rigid, because I do tend to ramble a lot. But also, where can people find us? If you looked for Ruff Majik online, literally, just type in Ruff Majik, you'll find us. And it's the reason for that is the spelling, which is RuffMajik. Nothing else on earth is spelled that way. So we're ridiculously search engine optimized. If you look for us, you'll find us.
Fantastic. Johni, thank you so much for taking the time and this busy schedule that you've got going, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
I'm stealing happiness from next week.